Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We are going to begin this month's series of business development, and we're looking at our own businesses and developing our strategic plan. And in order to be able to do that, we're going to just go back and do a reminder of last month's session of how we were looking at setting up our business profile, because this information is important for understanding our strategic plan. And mission and vision and our and things that'll be necessary in order to be able to take our business to the next level. As a reminder, you can get further information from a book, Kingdom Economics, that I wrote several years ago, but it gets some foundational information on understanding about business and purpose, because one of the key indicators in understanding about yourself as an entrepreneur is understanding that you must possess the ability and you must be able to have the desire in order to be able to see your dreams and visions become successful. When we look at the different businesses, this is an ongoing of our previous sessions. Businesses come into different ways and form and structures. In the previous sessions, we talked about business structures. It can be sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, nonprofit, all those different structures, and what's the difference of the business, legal liability, and also the tax liability. We also speak a little bit on LLCs, which have been popular over the last several years and are an easier way to start and operate in your business. But you have to also understand some of the requirements necessary. So I would ask and refer you back to those sessions that we talked about back in April, and it's out there on Facebook and YouTube on starting a business. These rest of these months series are going to be talking about developing your business plan for your business. And this is going to be important because this allows for you not to just be able to just launch into something because it's just a passion and because you're able to do it, but make sure when you do a business plan, it gives you a tool to be able to anticipate what could be potential problems so that you can address them upfront versus while you're in the midst of the situation trying to deal with it. This is something that's crucial in business development because many businesses fail typically within the first 5 years because of things that they experienced that they didn't necessarily anticipate. But if you take the time, whether it be financial, structural, organizational, you can be able to plan for certain things in order to help minimize that risk of your business failing. So in the business plan development, we talked about several different things. Last month, we talked about how to develop your mission statement, your company summary, and developing your product service listing and description. All those things were necessary in order for you to be able to get yourself ready as you continue to go on to these next series as we develop upon each series. Mission statement, once again, is something that you want to accomplish. And typically the mission statement is something you do over a period of time. You want to accomplish this, and then it shows you what you exactly want to do. Your company summary is your summary of your business, and it's an opportunity to give your highlights of what makes you different, your expertise, those things that are necessary to draw customers to you. And then you also want to start looking at developing your product and service listing and with this description of what type of service. Why this is important is because, we might have many ideas of what we want to do and accomplish in our business. However, there might be something where you have to start with one particular product and service, even though you might want to do others and really develop that. And so your business plan for the first year is developing that one particular product and service. And then you can go into maybe the next year, say, I want to develop this other product and service. That's why when we look at a business plan is typically, 3 to 5 years in the making. And so you want to plan over that period of time as what your intention is, and then we will build the steps to kind of get you there. And then you can see in the process of building this, what are some things that might be, potential problems that you have to address up front. And this is the work it takes to really build a business, to make sure that you can ensure success, so that you're not going to be caught blind when you're operating. So last month, we did some particular exercises, and this is an opportunity kind of just to be able to once again share. If there's anyone that would want to share, their particular mission statement of their business and their company summary and their service and product listing, I want to give you time at this time. You can unmute and be able to share, and we can discuss if there's some things that you want to be able to enhance it as you go through this process over the next few more series. So anyone wants to share their mission statement or company summary, product listing?
Yeah, I can share what I came up with.
Okay.
So this is like all brand spanking new. So something that's been on my heart is just helping the homeless in the Pittsburgh area. And it's either going to be called True Vine Ministries or True Vine Outreach. I don't know if there's an issue with the term ministries and what all that entails, but my mission statement is that our mission is to connect with the community and local businesses to help attend to the everyday needs of the homeless in the Pittsburgh area so that they are not forgotten.
Oh, okay.
That's it. And I keep switching words around. So basically, it's just the vision is to be the connector in the society for the less fortunate. And then I didn't really do a company summary, but I started looking at the different products and services. So this type of work, I know that it could go in so many different directions. Is it social? Is it clothing? Is it feeding? So that is what I notated in here as far as the different products and services, which would be either donations from corporate America or and additionally volunteers. That's where it connects with the mission statement, the community and local businesses. And then just get initially starting out just those donations for food and clothing and animals, food, clothing, and to also help the animals that the homeless people have as well. That's a part of it. But again, starting small. I'm not sure what direction to begin with. So most likely feeding them, and that's the start most likely. But that's what I came up with.
A couple of things on that. I think first, for as your company summary, it sounds like you want to do a nonprofit.
Yes.
Okay, so you're looking at probably doing a nonprofit, and you're looking at donations for companies and individuals. So you're looking at doing a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those are some information you want to put into your company summary that you'd be fine for a 501c nonprofit. That's crucial because in order to be able to fulfill your mission, you're going to need to receive donations, and typically you want to attract donations by having them be tax deductible, which requires a 501c3.
Okay.
So that's part of it that you want to put into your company summary. I like your product servicing is in nonprofit product service listing is called programs. So you have a program for the homeless, a program for clothing, then the program even for the animals, which is important because that becomes their family and their support system. So those are kind of like three different targeted programs within your nonprofit. Well, thank you for sharing that.
You are. Thank you for the additional information.
I'll just share mine. my company's Visions 2020 LLC. The mission statement is to assist you in achieving your vision for you and your business. The business summary and profile that I have is that Visions 2020 LLC was founded in January 2020 by Frederick A. Massey Jr., CPA, after 30 years of extensive management experience as a chief executive and finance officer for various social sector companies in human services and healthcare. Visions 2020 LLC specializes in assessing current business operations to maximize profitability and productivity. This is accomplished through the development of an effective operational plan and the personal and professional development of the executive and their crucial management team. And then I have a tagline, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit more when we talk about a marketing plan, is dreams versus visions. Moving from talking about it, let's get paid. And that's a tagline that you can kind of put out on any type of advertisement, shirts, merchandise material, because it's something that kind of involves my mission and vision all wrapped together to kind of make it a little bit more succinct. And so those are things once we get into marketing plans and how you market your business, we'll talk about. So any questions with mission statement, company summary, product service listing, and descriptions?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, LaShawn.
Because I missed the last session, but I do have my mission and my vision statement and my services. But what is the product? I mean, what is a company service? I mean, company summary. Is that just what your business is and who funded it and stuff like that?
Oh, the company summary, that's kind of what I was reading when I said visions, because the reason you kind of do a company summary, because that's something that you're going to capitulate in your executive summary for your business plan. But also, anytime you posting, like you want to set up a website, you want to do any type of advertisement, list on LinkedIn or Facebook profile, Instagram, they ask for it. What's your company profile? And so basically, it's a summary or synopsis of basically what your company name is, what do you do, kind of who runs it, and gives a quick, short summary of what your company is about. So, for instance, the example I gave with myself is I put in, Visions 2020 LLC, so people know my business name. They also know when I was founded. I said it was founded January 2020. So they know, how long I've been in operation. Then I throw who's behind it, and I say, myself, Frederick Massey Jr., CPA, after 30 years of extensive management experience as a chief executive financial officer in various social sector. So that gives some credibility and experience tied to who's running it. So in your company profile, the name, when it was kind of founded, is it going to be is it corporation, nonprofit, those type of things, so people have an idea of what your business is about. The person who's running it, or who which is going to be kind of like you want to do a quick profile of yourself, so that that people can see, if I just pull up any particular company, then I can kind of get a grip, get an understanding of what's this company's about. And that's where I go into the second paragraph. Once again, this is just real quick, where I say assess current business operations. So in my second paragraph, I'm kind of giving my products, my services. I assess current business operations to maximize profitability and productivity. And then I can do this through the development of an operational plan, personal and professional development, which has got my coaching and with the individual and their team. So I talk about, assessing business is part of my services, personal and coaching development. That's another part of my business that I operate in. So it's a short, summary of your business name, kind of when you got started, what you're about, and what your type of services are. And it's great because anytime you set up under YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, they always ask for a company summary. So I can take that and I can plop that in. If you go to my LinkedIn, my Facebook, all the Instagram, you're going to see that company summary in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. right. Now, when we talk about the elements of a business plan, um, typically the total plan can be anywhere between 5 pages to 15 pages, depending upon how much information and for what purpose you're using this document for. Because a business plan is to be used a couple of different ways. One, for you, so that you can at least put your thoughts out and plan out your direction of what you want to do to help you map yourself. That's one good way of what a business plan is for you. The other way of business plan is to attract what we call capital, people to invest money into your business. You know, if you have family, friends that want to invest into your business, well, typically the way that you go to individuals is through a business plan, because the business plan lays out, what you're about, what your business is, how you're going to go about it, and what you're going to do to be able to generate money to be able to operate your business, and why you need other investments. And then if people are investing, expecting a return back, then they can see from your business plan when you expect to make money to pay them back, because that's going to be incorporated into the plan. If you're a nonprofit, a business plan is good, but what we're going to talk about today, the strategic plan, is more important. The strategic plan is part of an overall business plan, but in a nonprofit, it's still good, because even, you're going to be looking at foundations and, donors that you want to invest into. Now, a strategic plan document does that a little bit better for nonprofits, but it still can be incorporated as part of an overall business plan that you have. There's different elements within a business plan. As you see here, there's the executive summary. That is basically the first page of your business plan, but that's the last document that you do, because typically you go through the rest of your business plan and then you take excerpts of that and you incorporate that into your summary, because your summary should be about 1 page, maybe a page and a half, but it should be very quick. And it's basically the cliff notes of your business plan. So if you really want someone to be attracted to and help you in your business, you got to make sure that this executive summary is really spot on. And if on the contra part, if you're a person that getting a business plan from somebody, the first thing you go to is the executive summary. You're going to go through, skim through that and say, okay, this is the business. This is who's running it. This is, what they want to do. This is why they need the money or need services or need clothes or in-kind gifts and things like that. Even as a nonprofit, you might want in-kind gifts. Ernestine, you were talking about clothes for the homeless and things like that. There's ways you can get donations as a 501c3 and get that written off for people and still receive the goods necessary to give out, where it doesn't necessarily mean money, but it still needs goods. Nonprofits are great for getting in kind, whether it be services from people, clothes, goods and services, all those different things. So that's still something that you can incorporate into your executive summary. So executive summary is very crucial, but it's the last thing you do. Then company services, and that's the part that we talked about last month, is, and if you need be, you can go to on Loving Myself Business Development. I put the videos out there from the series out there for those who are part of the private group, but then also for those who might want to share it with others. I also have the YouTube channel under Visions 2020, where you can go and I put the videos from the sessions out there also. Company services, what we just talked about last month, and that is the important things of the different things we talk about is, okay, what's your business profile? What's your mission, vision statement? What are the things that are crucial for the startup of a business that you want to incorporate and start thinking about and lay that out there? So you can look at that from last month's sessions, kind of revisit about what are the crucial things in company services. Then the third thing that shows up in a business plan is services. Those are why, I wanted you to list out what are your potential services, but then you get into it real in depth in your services. What are your services? What's the pricing? What's the pricing of the services? How do you go about it? What makes you, able to sell that particular service or not? Hey, Chanel. Um, I know you up there in the groove. You got your workouts on. You do that free fitness, free yourself. So services is another detail. So this is why, and you lay out initially high level in your company service, but in the services part, that's when you really put it out. What is the specific service you can offer? What's the price points of that? What's the fees? What's the different things? What do you get? So you laid out much more in detail. Another part of the business plan is the market analysis summary, and that is crucial. And basically, we'll talk about that in 2 months from now, about the marketing services and your marketing plan, because your marketing plan is going to be the key thing to do your market analysis. And that's where you look at who's the other competitors, what can you go about as far as how do you advertise? Are you talking about advertising on, Instagram, Facebook, print, media, all those different things? What's the best way, And so you're going to need a lot of these things up front, company services and things like that, in order to be able to respond to your marketing plan. What's your niche? What's the demographic of your customers? We all can't service everybody. So who are the ones that we're, going to be able to service and attract in a first year or plan? Then you might have a different demographic you're going to go after second year or third year. But those are the things that's going to be very crucial. And to be honest, it's in the market analysis that where people most mess up in their businesses, because they try to be all things to everybody and they fail. Because you have to say for your business and define that out, what makes you different than other folks? Because and when you can sell that and understand that, then there's enough marketplace for you to be in your businesses with other folks. For instance, what's the difference between Apple and Microsoft? Has anyone ever thought about that? They're both computer companies, but they're totally different in how they approach it. Anyone have any thoughts about, Microsoft versus Apple?
I would say for Apple, maybe like the security or something like that.
Yeah, they have tighter security because you don't see as much, of viruses on Apple than Microsoft. But you're getting to the point. You're getting there to what makes the difference. Microsoft has an open technology, very open, which is what makes them susceptible to viruses. Whereas Apple is so much more closed. When I say technology closed, is that they design their software and everything tied to it very proprietary. So you can't just go and get, knockoffs for the most part and think it's just going to continue to work with Apple. You typically have to buy Apple branded products to work with Apple, because the software is designed specifically to work with everything, the peripherals and everything else. Whereas Microsoft approach is we basically want to kind of sell software. That's Microsoft approach. So we'll give you we'll give you the equipment out there at a decent price and a cheaper price, because Microsoft stuff is typically cheaper than Apple. And then at the same time, they're using it just like you getting a phone, and basically the telephone companies then get the money off the subscription and off of the service. That's Microsoft approach. They basically have bought out software from other developers, and then they combine it underneath their package, and then they use their computers as a way of getting people to buy software. Whereas Apple can do that, but Apple is so much more proprietary, meaning that, they just don't open up their software to everybody and all developers. They go through a different process. So even though they're selling computers, the purpose of it is that when you deal with Apple is just as difficult operating system as Microsoft that keeps doing all these updates and things like that you get. But the difference is that Apple has all that technology all wrapped behind the scenes. you don't really see when you get your Mac computer or your iPad or your phone, what all is really going on. You did basically, you push a button and there's software that's saying what to do with that all behind the scenes. And it's very complex. Whereas with Microsoft, you see a little bit more out front. You know, you're not peeking behind the emperor's robe. You're really a little bit more out front with what's going on. You can see some of the failures and kinks and things like that. So, and the reason they have that is because Microsoft is much more open with their software so that developers can build programs and then Microsoft can buy them out. And that's just the difference. And you will see that if you go into the company summary and things like that. That's the major difference. And that's also is why the price point is different. Apple's going to be much more expensive because you have to get stuff from Apple so they can control that market a little bit better. But it takes a little bit more time and money for them to create and develop these things. Whereas Microsoft can be a little bit cheaper because they have a much more open platform with other people developing things for them. So that's the stuff that when you get into your executive summary, your company services and things, you have to understand. And then you see that in your market analysis. And would it make sense for them to try to compete? They don't. They kind of still operate in software and operate in computer, but they still kind of do it differently. So you can tell people who like Apple are a little bit different than people who like, Microsoft machines. It's a different. People in Microsoft machines are a little bit more technical because they can break easier. They're more open. They can play with. Whereas Apple kind of it's your creators, your developers. That's kind of what they're geared towards. Your teachers, their educators. So it's a different type. And so that's how they market it. And it's important for you to look at in your business, what makes you different than someone else that might be doing a similar thing, but you might not be doing it similarly in the same way. So the market analysis, I will reiterate, is one of the key failures in most businesses. They jump out and say, I have this great idea, but they don't think about what makes them different and how they're going to market it. Today, we're going to talk about strategy and implementation. This is the other key thing that most businesses fail at. They don't understand strategy. They say, okay, I have this great idea. Let's go out and just do it. They don't understand pricing, distribution, marketing, funding in order to be able to get it to a point where you can make enough sales based on the volume that you can earn profits. All those different things are important. So strategy is crucial. Here's another example dealing with strategy is I'm going to build a house. Well, you can say you want to build a house, but have you got the building permits? Have you got the contractor? What about the wood? What about the concrete? Electrician, the plumber? What about the roofer? All those things and individuals are necessary to build a house. And if you could have the great idea, but if you don't put all the things in place, it's not going to get done. And that's another potential failure impact upon businesses. They don't take the time to deal with the strategy. Why? Because trying to look at strategy is not sexy. And it's painful. You got to sit there and think about, okay, what about this? And if this goes wrong, what do I do then? And what about this? And what about that? And typically any type of leader needs to kind of have that operating in themselves. What is my plan A, B, and C? And that's kind of what you do with your strategy implementation is you go through and say, okay, if you want to do a thing like build a house, well, who's going to be the people that supply my wood? And what price am I going to have to get it at? And do they have the capability to get it to me when I need it? They might be the best, but they might have so many orders committed that they can't get to me until 6 months from now. And if I have to wait 6 months, how's that going to impact me? Then who's the other supplier that I can get it? These are things that you have to take the time up front to think about, because you can't do this when you're in the midst of operating. You can't be in there saying, okay, I opened up all that. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready to build a house and I got the, everything ready to go. Contractor ready to go. Let's go in, and there's no supplies for them to start building, and you got workers standing around. You've just wasted money, energy, and time. And then if you don't have enough for them, those workers will go to some other job site and work. And I know that enough to know that in dealing with other CEOs that run contracting jobs, if you notice, they have more staff on during the summer and spring months because that's construction season. However, they lay off a lot of people during the fall and winter because there's not much going on. However, they still keep a group of folks on because they know it's hard enough to have to go back to the well again to try to hire people after they've been trained on how to do their business. So they have to commit when they're not bringing money in or work coming in for a certain skeleton crew of folks that they can have with them so that when the construction season starts again, they're able to put them out there. So what happens if you don't anticipate that and know that you have to carry another $100,000 on for the winter months that you're not going to have no money coming in? So do you know, then you have to price you got to price your work enough during the summer and springtime that you can have that lump sum of money to hold on during the winter time so that then you can start back again. But if you don't do the strategy properly, you're not going to even think about or be able to understand the cycles of businesses and things like that. So we'll spend some time today on that. And then the other part of it is the management summary. This is where you really have to sell who is operating. And if you want money out of me to be able to invest into your business, I got to trust that you're able to be able to carry it out. And think about this. This is the other part when you're running a business. You might have great business name and all that, but ultimately people trust the persons who are running it. They trust you and you have to give them reason to. And that's where you do this management summary. You talk about yourself as the owner of the business. You talk about who else is part of the business that you're operating with, whether it be the person who's actually might be operating it, or it could be fiscal people, it could be HR, whoever that you're starting your crew that's going to be management of your business. This is when you lay out their profiles, their experience, and what they plan on doing. And that is how you sell the individuals who are going to be operating for your business. And then you also want to get into some of that management summary too. In the operational plan, we talk about that is, you also want to be prepared for job descriptions and things like that, because if you're going to start hiring, you need to be able to be ready to know who you're going to hire, what are the requirements and things like that. So there's a lot behind the scenes. This goes back to the Apple perspective. Most people think like the Apple company, oh, you just push a button and they just do all this stuff, but there's so much energy, software, and intellect behind that you don't know what's going on. And that's what makes it so useful. And that's why they can have a higher price for it. Well, it's the same thing. This business plan is the Apple software operating, but people see your business, but they don't see what you put behind it, the thinking, the connections, the networking, the planning, all those things that are important. And then the last part is the financial plan. This is the typical downfall of any business. Most people don't understand that they need to know and work the numbers. I can't tell you how many times that people have all these ideas. I want to do this, go to the next level, but they're fearful of the numbers. They're fearful of calculating, or they don't know how to. But if that's the case, you have to be honest with yourself. This is what I talked about in personal development last year when I did the series about knowing yourself. If you know that you're not as strong in the numbers, then you have to incorporate into your plan a company, a contractor, someone, consultant who does know the numbers that you can rely off of, because you can't operate in business to make money if you don't know how much money and what it's costing you. And a lot of people don't take the effort into the financial plan, and then that will sink your business, because you can't grow to the next level and not know what it's going to cost you, what much more money you might need in order to go ahead and launch this particular service versus this. How much money do you need to live off of? If your business takes 5 years to get together to start making enough money for you to live off of, but it requires you full time to be committed, then you need to get financing in order to do that. You need to work the numbers to say, how much money do I need to live off of over the next period of time in order for this, when this business kicks up, that it can support me? Or how do I go about to do this business and, in a different way until I can get to the point where I can devote 100% to my time? But you got to be able to know what it's going to cost you and what it's going to be, what's necessary, because that's how you go from a hobby, to a side hustle to actually a business. Most people have that hobby and side hustle, but at the same time, they don't really have that legitimate business that's operating. And you have to be able to plan and be able to commit to that. So let's go and look at strategy implementation. All right. If you have any questions, we're going to just spend some time just talking about this and looking at a little bit of the process. Now, keep in mind, this takes time as much as you can put to it, but this is where you really want to get the devotion of your time to be able to understand how do you plan on operating. So when we look at strategy and implementation summary, the couple things that are part of this strategy implementation summary that's part of your strategic plan, you want to be able to point out what is your competitive edge. Why should I use you versus ABC that's right next to me? Okay. Chanel, for yourself, why should we go and work with you, and what can you do and offer different than other folks versus a gym, Planet Fitness, or going online, all the things, especially coming out of the pandemic. So you got to think about that. This is the time to start thinking about this and then putting it out on paper, and so that you can be able to use it for marketing and things like that. Because the information you put in here is what you're going to use for moving forward on a lot of different things. Marketing strategy, we just talked about that. What is your marketing? How do you get your information, your business out to people? What ways? Print, social media. Social media is such a big thing now. You got influencers making all this money selling products online and things like that. But how are you going to go about to advertise, whether it be on social media, print, TV, ads, all those different things, and the pricing of that? You got to think about your way about how you can go about it. And the way things are now is so easy to launch in marketing at a minimum cost, especially with social media. But once again, if you're using social media, who you're marketing to? Is a typical 80-year-old person that you want to provide geriatric services going to be on typical social media, and which one? Those are things you got to think about and understand. Sales strategy, how do you go about to be able to sell? For those that might not even know, these sessions is a marketing and sales strategy for me, because basically I lay out the things that are necessary for people to run businesses. But do you think a lot of people maybe know enough or have the commitment enough to try to do it for themselves? But if they're generating enough income, they want to be able to have someone that might have more experience, being able to assist them in the process. So by showing what the experience that I can have and what I can do through these sessions, that is a marketing and sales strategy. And from that, being out there on LinkedIn and being out on YouTube, I get different notes and messages that come in about individuals that want additional services and assessments. So you got to think about, what is your way of being able to sell your business? And then milestones is tracking when have you reached the things you wanted to reach. You can't just put a goal. And this is the difference. And this is why I have, I named my company Visions. A lot of people have dreams. And I say it in the tagline, a lot of people have dreams, but dreams typically don't come true because they're an ideal in thought, but they don't have no plan or structure in order for them to accomplish with timelines. Goals, visions come true. And that means you got to set what you want, and you got to lay it out in timeline, which are milestones, so that you're on track. And that is where coaching comes into. That's why people go and use coach trainers, things like that, because they say, just like, they would contact you. I want to lose 20 pounds by when. And so if you take by when, this is what you're going to have to you lose each week in order to hit that and target. And to do that, you have to do it by a combination of nutrition and exercise in order to do that. Now, if you want to do it longer, we can stretch it out based on this. Or if you want to do it in a shorter period, it's going to be more intense. But you have to have some goal with a target date or milestones in order to be able to determine how effective you are. when I was in LA, and LA Fitness, when I used to go there, there was something would play over and over again. What doesn't measure, what doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. And what that's saying is, if you have a goal, but you're not staying on top of it to know when you accomplish it, how do you know you reached it? And how you know you're going to be able to continue to improve upon it and develop? So those are key elements of strategy implementation. So you need to demonstrate how you will generate the revenue from your product sales or services that you've discussed in the previous session. So think about those products and services that you want to offer, and you go about, and so the strategy is, how am I going to go about to generate the revenue and to be able to cover that and make sure that I do meet what I plan on with my service? And so part of your strategic and implementation summary, these are some of the documents that you have to really work on. Strategic plan, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit and more, and we've been discussing that. You have a strategic plan, which is typically between, they say 5 years. I like the between 3 to 5 years, depending upon, because so much can happen in time, but you want to have it over a period of time, usually 3 to 5 years strategic plan. Now there's strategic plans. You can do a 30-day, 90-day, 120-day strategic plan. There's different books out on that where you can get it, chop it down. But basically, strategic plan is what is a goal with objectives that you want to accomplish. An operational plan is where you take a full strategic plan and you break it down into bits. I typically break an operational plan down on a yearly basis, and within that year, what do you plan to do within the months within that year? So that takes your big 3 to 5 year ideas down into a yearly basis that you break down to that you have objectives of how you get through it each month. And that's important because remember, it's about getting steps to you achieving your goals. So a lot of times we have all these big ideas, and this is what I talk about, it's a dream, it's just an idea, but you want to have a vision, you incorporate it into timelines and steps to get that. And so a strategic plan works with an operational plan. And then you have customers, demographics. You need to understand that about who is your customers. And then what are your sales targets? How many sessions do you plan to have per month in order to be able to meet your financial goals? How many hours do you want to bill out each week or each month that you have? That's how I think of, because my unit of service is hours. So I have billable hours and how many hours I need to hit in order to hit the revenue targets I want to make on a monthly basis. Then you have your SWOT analysis, and this is your strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What that is that this is the crucial part where you need to take the time to go through and look at, because this is where people fail and get frustrated and don't look at this business. This is where you actually have to be honest with yourself and with your business. What is my strengths and weaknesses? That is what you can determine internally. So you look from internally, from what you have and possess, what are my strengths and weaknesses? But then externally is opportunity and threats. That's from other customers and outside that you can't control. Like no one can, the pandemic was a threat. People didn't predict the pandemic. And so that was a threat. So if you have a shutdown of your business or you can't operate, what are you going to do? That's a threat. That's outside. But there's also opportunities. The pandemic was an opportunity for folks. Social media, Zoom, all these other virtual type things had got big money through this pandemic. So once again, what was a threat to others was an opportunity to some. But then strength and weaknesses are internal. Do I have the money to be able to do what I want to do? Do I have the people? Do I have, the distribution? And, do I have the time? Do I have the effort? All those things, those strengths and weaknesses. Now, I have good knowledge and networking with certain people that I can use. That's a strength. So once again, strength and weaknesses are what you have possessed internally that you can be able to do and have control over. And opportunities and threats is what's externally where you don't have control, but you're still in that environment. And you need to take the time to analyze your business, because then you can prepare and be able to respond to that when that arises. Any questions before I continue on?
No.
Oh, okay. Now, all those things I talked about, there's typically a process for doing a strategic plan. And so I'm just going to just go over the highlights. And this is very important because with nonprofits really, utilize strategic plans. Most for-profit businesses do too, but they do it in a different manner for different reasons. But for nonprofits, typically foundations and boards kind of want to see a strategic plan from the exec, because they want to see what is the direction that you're taking the organization that you're requesting money from me. And when you're asking for $250,000, $500,000, $100,000, they really want to know before they invest in you, what are you going to do with it? And have you taken the time? So what I'm showing here is basically a strategic, just a general strategic plan process that happens. And, for those who might not know, a typical, if you're looking at a consultant, especially in the nonprofit realm, and also for profit, a strategic plan process, depending upon how much you really want out of it and for what purpose, can cost you $20,000 to $30,000 to have a consultant walk you through a strategic plan process. And you'll say, wow, that's a lot of money. But once again, if you're asking for someone to invest $100,000, $200,000, $1 million into your operations, then the $20,000 is an investment for that. And that's why we have to be able to look at it and not get so boggled down by dollars to understand that we need to look at the ultimate vision and purpose of our business. And if that is to make money or to help others through service, then we need to know the reality of the money that's necessary to operate that, and then make sure that we have a plan that we can be as successful as possible, knowing that, the likelihood is that we're going to run into most businesses failing within a 5-year period of time. So we know that factually. What can we do to mitigate that? And having a good strategic plan process is important. And so typically when you do it, and this is why it's important, is the first part is gathering facts. It's really doing the research. And this is why you typically pay a consultant that has access to information and knowledge that can also coordinate, because all our businesses, we have to be able to say, who's the competitor? Who's our customer? Who's going to be funding us? Who's going to be coming? So, and part of this commitment, strategic planning process, you might want to get, typically you get interviews from different people. The people have, you want to talk to different people, gather information. You might want to have people who are going to be potential customers as part of it, so that you can talk to them and say, what are the things you're looking at? If I did this, you have that firsthand. And so you have to gather information. That's crucial. And that's for some people, that's the boring part. Well, I know what I can do. I can jump in and do that. Well, talking to others who've been successful in it, that just gets you a leg up. So talking to other people who've been doing it or to set up that business, that's important. Talking to potential customers. And if I charge this, or what would you think about this? And they might say, well, I can get it from here, over here, or this is something that's different that would draw me to you versus where I'm going now. So gathering information is going to be the first thing you're going to have to do. Then we talked about the SWOT analysis. The strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. You got to be able to list those things and be honest. I might not have enough experience. I don't have the capacity. If not, because it can run you in problems. And one of the things is that for me to go to my next level, I need to hire on people, whether it be a contractor or an employee, depending upon the business, because I know based upon my current clients that are currently meeting their needs, I can't take on more because the hours that I'm doing with the current clients is maxed. You can't get more than 24 hours in a day. So in order for me to service more people, I'm going to have to get another person on to service more people, or I can increase my rates to drop some people that I can get more revenue from less people. So, but then you gotta look at that strategy. Am I going to outprice myself from other competitors out there? So that's why gathering facts is important. Then you're looking at your SWOT analysis so that when business opportunities come through, internal thing is I got capacity issues. I can't do more than what I'm currently doing. So if I try to do it, I'm going to try to get into a contract where I can't fulfill it, and I'm going to lose that, damage my reputation. So this is where it really takes important to be honest. And this is why an outside person too, that can be independent, will help out to be able to, that has some experience, will be able to look at that and say, hey, what about this? Have you thought about that? And do you think about this? So this is crucial because it'll show you exposures of areas that you need to be able to shore up as you develop your business plan. Then, okay, you want to review the information, the inputs from all the folks, from the stakeholders that are part of going through the process with you. You know, sometimes you get customer surveys, questionnaires and things, and get that information, and you then compile that information to analyze that. And then you develop a matrix of, okay, here's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Here's the things that we know about it. Here's the things that we can do to be able to combat that. And then you define strategies. And strategies is important because the strategies are how you're going to go about to be able to develop and meet your goals. Because you're going to set goals, but you need strategies to be able to say, how am I going to do that? You can't just sit there and say, I'm going to make $1 million in 5 years. Okay. Well, that's a dream, because, how are you going to go about that? Are you going to how many sales are you going to have to make? What's your product going to have to be priced? What vendors do you have to get at what cost to be able to price it at this, to make that margin, to get that point? So strategies are going to be very crucial. And then the last is final. Once you go through and develop strategies and you finally lay out your strategic plan, and your strategic plan is typically going to have a couple things in it. And we'll talk about that, on the next slide. But before I move on, any questions about strategic plan process? Okay.
Nope.
All right. And then, so what really makes up a strategic plan is 3 major things: goals. And goals are not, and this is the difference, goals are not just, okay, what I want to accomplish, but by when. You have to have SMART goals. I mean that they have to be very strategic, specific. They have to be measurable, attainable, realistic, and have a timeline. That is what SMART represents. So when you hit that goals, I remain really SMART goals. What you want to accomplish and by when. So that's a goal. So you can't, if you just say, I just want to make money, that's not a goal. If I want to make $1 million, that's not a goal. I want to make $1 million by year 5. Okay, that's a goal. Now, that's just only one part of the strategic plan, setting a goal. Then the objectives is, what will you do to accomplish? And those are the steps. Okay, what do you, so what will you do to accomplish your goal? That's the objectives. Objectives is, okay, so you got a goal out there, but what will you do? I will sell 20 of these items at this price each month, and then increase by 5% after 3 months, and then do this and all. Objectives is I will sell. It's something. What will you do to accomplish your goal? And then the strategies, as we talked before, is how will you accomplish your objective? So how are you going to carry that out? I must sell certain things, but to who? How are you about it? How are you going to market it? How often are you going to do it? Are you going to do it on the weekends? So you need goals, objectives, and strategies in order for an effective strategic plan. Let's look at this further. Okay. Well, Okay. This is an example of a strategic plan. See, and this is the thing. Strategic plans look in different forms. You can have them in circles, you can have them listed in just numbers, and usually strategic plans, and this is what consultants will do, is make them pretty, because strategic plans then become a marketing document for you. So, but this is a good example of that I found out on the internet about a strategic plan for healthier children, a better world. So in this example, you can look at bringing value to our stakeholders. Okay, so they want to bring value to stakeholders by what? Okay, to deliver quality services within an integrated system. So bringing value to the stakeholder is their goal. So increasing value to stakeholders. The objectives that they want to do is to deliver quality services within an integrated system with a focus on creative thinking. And they will develop, efficiently utilize our resources and align with SickKids' missions and values. So that's objective to the goal of bringing value to stakeholders. And then the strategy is to lead in world-class quality and service by creating a culture of service excellence, champion continuous improvement, optimize patient. So those are the strategies within the goals and objectives. Now, the difference with this is it doesn't have like a timeline, but this is more so a marketing tool of a map of what they want to do versus really laying out business. But the way that I typically lay out is I'll have the goals up top, I'll have the objectives underneath of the goals, and then I have the strategies, and then I have a column that lays out who is responsible for in order to do that, and the timeline that is, because that's important, because then you revisit that as you go through your process. And then there's times where a goal or objective is not right and you need to move it, push it, or you need to be able to shrink it because you achieve it sooner than you thought, or you might need to replace it. So it becomes a real living document for yourself and for your business. So one of the things I want you to do now is for this exercise, so that with me here, we can kind of talk and go over this, but then over the before next month's session, I want you to go and work on your goals for your business. And then we're going to talk about that next month. And then we will then also start getting into an operational plan, is how do you make that goal operational? And so you can see the difference between a strategic plan and then an operational plan. So if you want to take a moment, I want you to think of one goal in your business that's part of your plan that you think you want to kind of work on. And remember, the goal is going to define when you plan to achieve what you want to achieve. So you got, okay, I want to, make $1 million in 3 years. I want to have, so it's an overall thing that's part. Remember, your goals and the strategic plan are the things that you want to do between 3 to 5 years. That's the crucial part. It's between 3 to 5 years is your overall goal. And then the objective to achieve your goal is the what. What are you going to do to be able to achieve the objective, to achieve your goal? And then the strategy of that is how are you going to carry out, how are you going to do it? So those are the things I want to think of. So just do it for one particular goal that you would want to accomplish over 3 to 5 years for your business. So state that with a time frame, and then develop an objective. What do you want to achieve? And then how do you go about to achieve that? And when you're ready, just unmute and and share it.
So I'll go first. This is Chanel.
Okay.
So to be completely transparent, I don't have at this point in time, like my next goal is within a year, and I would in a year and a half, and it was like I would like to be in a building by October of this is 2021, 2022. I would like to be in a building. And how my mind, to be honest, I'm completely transparent right now, how my mind works is that, okay, once I'm in a building, then it's like, okay, I'm moving on to the next goal. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I know that the goal is to be in a building and to have more classes on a bigger scale and to be able to personally train people in the building without having to go to having multiple gym memberships like I do right now.
Oh, see, and you're on it. See, what you're really thinking of more is an operational plan, because your bigger goal is to operate your business by itself.
Right.
So that's the overall big, is that you can have your own, I don't know, your own boutique, your own, that's the overall reaching goal. And then an operationally within a year or so, you're looking at saying, okay, I want to be in my own building by the date that you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so that kind of gets to, that's kind of like then what you just said is kind of an objective of your major goal of having your
Okay.
own operating entity and
Mhm.
business. Okay. So then what's the strategy then? So how are you going to go about by a year and a half to be in your own?
Okay. So as of right now, you know, I'm definitely doing the summer classes, the 12-week summer classes to market the business and let people know what I'm doing. And then with that, I'm gathering more clients to personally train. I'm still working, so my income from Family Links, I still able to pay the, you know, put my money into the household, but my money from personal training is all going back and just directly into the business account where I'm just saving to put toward it. And, you know, if needed, I'll be able to get a loan if needed. I would like not to have to, but if needed, I'll be able to get a loan to, you know, lease a space. So that's like in my mind, that's how I'm thinking of it.
Okay, there's some other objectives and strategies you can do based off what you just said. You said, okay, you would love to be able to do it without getting a loan. So those are things that you would have to spell out as objectives and strategy. Okay, strategy is to get in your building without a loan. That's one strategy. So in order to do that strategy, what are some objectives to that you would need? Do you need so many amount of sales on the weekends or sessions or so? And then you can lay that out. Then you could have another strategy. If you had to go and get a loan, this is the strategy. You see?
Got it. I understand.
Yeah. See, you can see why it can branch and keep branching out. But this is the thought process, what you do to kind of get prepared for the different ways so that you're not surprised, so that you can be flexible in what you want to achieve.
Got it. Okay.
But that's not real. That's not unrealistic. That's not unrealistic. But it's the key crucial part is that, okay, you laid out kind of what you want as a goal. You got some of the objectives is to be able to to be able to get into your own place. And then the strategies that I've heard, some multiple strategies, which you need to lay out some objectives to that strategy. Then, you know, like if you want to do it without having to get a loan, okay, so that means I have to make so much on through my this in order to do that. And so how many of this, what do I have to price? How many people each month? How do I grow up? How do I market that? Those are things. So think about that and lay those down as different steps. And then look at the other strategy of, if I had to get a loan, what would be necessary? So what type of loan? Was it a small business? Who should I contact? What I'm going to need? What I need to qualify? All those different things. You know, I might have to file a tax return. Do I need to file business information? Because you'll see. So once you go down those different strains going out, you have to go and lay out other objectives to that so that you can be prepared for it, and then do some more research on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any? That's just like thoughts on there's like a strategic plan or a goal.
I have a goal, but I don't know if I'm for the objective and the strategic plan, I don't know if I'm going about it the right way. But my overall goal is to have a storefront And for the objective, I had that I do want to maintain that 501c3 status. So I don't know if that's more so of like an individual or are you, so you was talking about like as far as like leasing and saving money for towards stuff like that. As far as the storefront, I didn't get that deep. Mine was more so of the things that I want to do in regards to programs and services altogether to eventually obtain the storefront.
Okay. Well, getting a
So I like
may
to.
be your major goal, but let's
Hmm.
break it down to even beyond that. Because so you want to get a storefront to operate, whatever, and then kind of think of an idea of when you would want to do that to help to frame that as a goal. That's important. But then once you go below that, you can say, I want to get a storefront. So, but then in order to do that, what am I going to put in it? So, okay, objective is that I need to have these services operating. Okay, and what level, and then what funding am I going to get? Do I need to go and get my 501c3? Do I need to partner with someone else to be able to operate those things? Because basically, what goal gets you is the goal is the end point, and then what we got to do is work backwards. that's the strategic processing, is working backwards to where you want to be at. So that what are the steps that I need to have taken in order to achieve what I want to achieve? Because that's why knowing what and when you want to do it is important, because it also lets you know what are the steps that you're going to need to do in order to get that. And then you might find out when you start working these things back, I might have to push that win back a little bit, because a lot of the other things I need to do might take too much time or more time than I anticipate. And so, and that's okay. I'd rather do that than trying to jump into it. And then all of a sudden you get into it and you don't have the resources or you don't have the connections in order to accomplish what you want, and get frustrated. That's why this part is tough, but this is crucial. I mean, I don't recommend anyone really jumping out until they really taken the time to sit there and say, what do I really want and when, and then go back and lay out the steps necessary in order to get that and achieve that. So, and that's what, and nothing's too impossible. It's just that, do you have the time, and have you thought it out and planned it out enough in order to achieve that? Sometimes it's a push or pull. Sometimes things can be shortened. Some things might be lengthened. And then there might be more intensity during period times in order to reach some things. But it's crucial. You know, it's very crucial. I mean, I'm working with a potential client now that wants to set up a facility of service, and and she's been trying to do it for several years now, but it just didn't take. And now I'm working with her through an operational plan, which we'll go over next time, but how to really break down those goals down into actual manageable steps. Because that's what I saw after, coaching this, saw that why she wasn't able to achieve some of these things. And so that's the same thing with us, is that, you know, basically you take your goal, the vision of what you want to do, and you break it into manageable steps. That's what strategic planning is. And it's not right or wrong. It's just taking the steps necessary. And as you go through, you might find, oh, I need to do this. Oh, so I need to add this to this, and this will expand. Yeah. Like one of the things, I have clients now, but I have to get myself registered with MBE. And if I get MBE, then I get on a state database, so that when contracts, federal and state contracts require MBE certification, then that's minority business certification, then I'll be eligible, because I'll be already on the list and certified to do that, so they can get reimbursed. So that will expand my client base. I didn't start out that way, but I'm seeing that now as I get with some clients. So that's another goal that I have added into my strategy of expanding my business. And I didn't have that when I first started, by a year and a half into it. Now I do. So and so I'll be working through what is necessary. I got to find the website, apply. I got to file the tax return. I got to get this, and I got to send this and put this vendor note, and then I should be able to get it. But this is an ongoing process that you will be doing. But to get it to a finite thing, so that you can at least have a document, so that you can at least follow through and then use it as a live document that you can change and modify it as you go along, knowing the more information that you get. Any other questions on that strategic plan exercise? And we are over time. I want to be respectful for that. So once again, for those, this is a good reference that I've kind of looked at too, is how to start your business and setting it up, and LLCs for those who hadn't that opportunity to look at it. And my information, once again, I'll be uploading this onto Facebook and to the Loving Myself Business Development group, and also out there on YouTube, so that if you can go back and look at this session again. Keep in mind, next month, August 14th, is that we'll be looking at continuing on. And even though it says strategic plan, is really going to be more so we're going to concentrate on the operating plan, which is very much is basically taking our strategic plan that we talked about from a 3 to 5 year and get it down to 1 year and a couple months, and show the steps. So some of the things that you were talking about as you work through your strategic plan, have that ready, because then we can break that down in the next session to kind of give you an idea of what you need to do from month to month to year in order to accomplish your overall goals. Any questions that anyone else have? Well, if not, I'm glad that you were able to join with me. Look forward to seeing you next month. Continue to be able to work on your plans so that you can have a successful business. And thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.